Hello and welcome back to the Holland Homestead. Today we're going to be doing a couple very important tasks to take care of your tomato plants this year. Now these are the ways that we grow our tomato plants, which are all indeterminate plants, and so these are two things that we do. The first is we prune off all of the suckers and low leaves as the plant grows, and the second is that we create a trellis system and tie them up so that they can grow nice and tall without falling over. In the past, when we grew tomatoes, they would be some more of your indeterminate bush varieties, and we used cages, but the ones that were indeterminates and we tried to grow cages in would always grow too tall right out the top of the cage and then flop over. So I learned about other ways to grow tomatoes, but you do whatever works for you. So for us, trellising the tomatoes like this is what works best because it gets them off the ground. We get lots of great airflow through here to prevent disease. They stay off of the ground to prevent disease from splashing up on the leaves, and it provides us with a nice harvest each year. So this is not something I came up with on my own. I did get this trellis from a YouTuber and then modified it a little bit and modified some of the trellising system. So some people will just put stakes in the ground and tie their tomatoes to them with a material or a t-shirt. You want something soft that will kind of expand and grow with the plant. So what we're going to be using is sisal twine, not regular jute twine. Sisal twine has a stronger strength to it and will biodegrade less quickly. Last year, some of our jute tied plants, they frayed and wore out, and the plants fell over, and I had to tie them back up. And last year I also used a landscape staple to hold the twine into the ground, which created a contact point for moisture and bacteria to get at the twine and cause it to biodegrade. So we're going to do things a little bit different this year, and I'm going to show you how. We're going to show you how to do both the pruning and how we trellis our tomatoes. So you may be thinking, wow, look at those tomato plants. They're looking strong, bushy, and they even have some nice stems on them. And they were only planted out 2 weeks ago. Well, I'm glad that they look super healthy, but they're a little too bushy for me. Some of them have even got flowers on them, and that's a good thing because they're growing in the right spot. So we're going to show you why these tomatoes are too bushy for us and how we're going to correct that. Alright, so right in here we've got one of our plants. What is this? This is a green zebra. Ooh. So as you can see, we have a nice growth here. We have this main stem growing up the middle here, and zoom in a little bit. We have this side shoot. So these are what we call suckers. And these suckers have gotten pretty big. And they are starting to pull energy from the main shoot. Now, there are a couple lines of thought about what to do with these suckers. Some people growing an indeterminate plant like a beefsteak that's not a hybrid or is an indeterminate hybrid will leave some of them to create more fruit, but they'll also tend to not grow quite as tall. Last year I did it both ways, where I left a couple plants with suckers and didn't prune them out hardly at all, and I don't feel like I got any bigger or any better fruits from them or any more fruits. I feel like they produced the same, and so I'm going to work with what is going to work in our system here. So you can see the sucker coming out the side, and so we're going to take a nice clean sharp pair of secateurs or pruners and cut it out. There you go. So we cut that out of the axilla or the armpit where there is a leaf, 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 And then in each of those armpits is one of the suckers. And you will know that it is the main stem when it is not coming out of the armpit. You don't want to top your tomato until it's taller than your growing system. So you want to keep taking out those suckers. And we are low enough here where we can start taking out some of these lower leaves so they're not touching the ground. And we're going to go through, do this to all of our tomato plants. This is a chore that you're going to want to stay on top of to create productive tomato cordons just like this. So now with this tomato plant, you can see we've taken out the suckers and some of the lower leaves, and it's created a much leaner looking tomato plant that's going to be better overall. And so now that we've cleaned this plant up, I'm going to show you how we can get it ready to be trellised. Alright, now we're going to show you how to trellis the tomatoes. So you're going to take your sisal, get a length of it, take your free end, tie it to your conduit, using square knots. That school taught me something. Nice and secure. Run a length down. Make sure you've got enough free end to tie with. And you don't want to tie it too tight onto the plant because we don't want to constrict its growth. So there we go. We'll try and get the rest of them a little bit tighter than that. But then you're going to take your tomato plant and start to wrap it around your twine for it to start growing up. And you're going to take your main stem and do that the whole way. And the last thing I wanted to show you about our trellises is how we constructed them, which I probably should have shown you first because that's pretty important. But anyway, so the trellises are made of 9-foot T-posts that I've sunk into the ground, topped with 1 1/2 inch PVC fittings, and then using 3/4 inch conduit. So we have a 1/2 inch conduit down at the other end, but I found that tended to sag a little bit more. So this year I'm going to use this 3/4 inch, and then in the middle it's a T, 3 posts, and then I have an extender just to make it work in my garden, and then an elbow at the other end. So that's how we made the trellis. I hope you guys learned something today. I look forward to seeing you back on the Holland Homestead.